You don't lack confidence, you lack control. Control over your thoughts, control over your attention, control over the story running in your head. Right now, there is a voice inside you that speaks before you do. It predicts failure before you try. It assumes judgment before anyone speaks. It measures you against people who don't even know your name, and you've mistaken that voice for truth. But it isn't truth. It's undisciplined thinking. For years, you've tried to fix insecurity the wrong way. You tried achievement, you tried validation, you tried waiting until you felt ready, and nothing changed. Because insecurity is not solved externally, it is dismantled internally. 2,000 years ago, Stoic philosophers faced exile, public humiliation, slavery, plague, political betrayal, and they built something that modern culture rarely produces: unshakable inner stability. Not arrogance, not bravado, not performance. Stability. Today you're going to learn 7 daily disciplines they use to construct that stability, and if practiced consistently, they will end insecurity at its root. Not temporarily, not motivationally, structurally. But understand this first: confidence is not a feeling. It is a byproduct of self-command. And self-command begins the moment you wake up. Here's where it begins. Discipline 1. The morning judgment. Win the first battle. Insecurity starts before anyone criticizes you. It starts the moment you wake up. You reach for your phone, you scroll, you see someone else's progress, and something tightens in your chest. Before your feet touch the floor, comparison has already entered your mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." He was seizing control of interpretation, because whoever controls the first thought controls the emotional tone of the day. Most people wake up reactive. The Stoic wakes up deliberate. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, sit up and ask yourself 3 questions. What is actually within my control today? What difficulty might I face? Who will I choose to be regardless of outcome? This shifts you from reaction to governance. If someone ignores you today, that is not within your control. But whether you interpret it as rejection is. If you make a mistake, that is not within your control once it happens. But whether it becomes identity is. Insecurity feeds on unchecked interpretation. The morning judgment interrupts it. 5 intentional minutes can prevent 16 reactive hours. Win the first battle of the day, and you change everything that follows. Discipline 2, negative visualization. Remove the power of fear. You are not insecure because you fail. You are insecure because you fear failure, and fear grows in vagueness. What if I embarrass myself? What if they reject me? What if I'm exposed? Most people avoid these thoughts. The Stoics walked directly into them. Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." This practice is called premeditatio malorum, imagining adversity in advance, not to become anxious, but to become prepared. Think about something you've been avoiding: speaking up in a meeting, posting your work publicly, setting a boundary, taking a visible risk. Now imagine the worst case clearly. You stumble over your words. Someone looks unimpressed. There's an awkward pause. Don't soften it. Now continue the story. You breathe. You finish. The moment passes. The world moves on. Here's what your fear never includes: recovery. It stops at humiliation. But confidence is built in recovery, not perfection. Modern psychology confirms this principle. When you mentally rehearse discomfort, your nervous system becomes less reactive to it. The unknown feels dangerous. The familiar feels manageable. 5 minutes a day. Choose one fear. Visualize the worst outcome. Then visualize yourself enduring it. Confidence is not believing nothing will go wrong. It is knowing you remain intact when it does. The insecure person avoids imagining loss. and is shattered by it. The disciplined person rehearses loss and remains steady. That steadiness is power. You can control your mornings, you can rehearse your fears, but insecurity still finds its way back in. Why? Because most of your energy is leaking into places where you have no authority, and until you reclaim that energy, confidence will always fluctuate. This is where the Stoics become ruthless. Discipline 3, the dichotomy of control. Stop bleeding energy. Epictetus opened his teachings with a line so simple it sounds almost harmless. Some things are within our control and some things are not. But if you actually live by that sentence, insecurity loses most of its fuel. Within your control, your effort, your preparation, your discipline, your character, your response. Outside your control, other people's opinions, their tone, their timing, their loyalty, outcomes, recognition, the past. Now think about what disturbed you recently. You sent a message, they didn't reply. You checked again and again. You presented an idea, someone questioned it. Your stomach tightened. You posted something meaningful. The response wasn't what you hoped. In each of those moments, insecurity grew. Why? Because your self-worth was tied to something outside your jurisdiction. Most people are trying to control perception. They want to control how they are seen. But perception is not yours. And when your confidence depends on perception, it becomes unstable. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies. He did not control whether every battle would be won. He controlled whether he acted with courage and integrity. He did not measure himself by applause. He measured himself by conduct. That is the shift. When you measure yourself by outcome, confidence fluctuates. When you measure yourself by effort and character, confidence stabilizes. Here is the exercise. Tonight, write down 3 things that disturbed you today. Next to each, mark C within my control, NC, not within my control, be honest. You will notice something uncomfortable. Most of your emotional energy went into the NC column. You suffered over what was never yours to command. And that is why you feel powerless, because you are fighting in territory where you have no authority. Reclaim your jurisdiction. If someone disapproves of you, that is theirs. If you prepared fully, that is yours. If the opportunity closes, that is circumstance. If you refine your skill, that is yours. Confidence grows when you operate inside your column. Withdraw energy from what you cannot govern. Double down on what you can. That alone will cut your insecurity in half. But even if you master this, there is still one place insecurity hides, and it's closer than you think. Discipline 4. Self-dialogue awareness. Silence the inner tyrant. There is a voice in your head that speaks before anyone else does. It comments on your mistakes. It magnifies your flaws. It predicts your embarrassment. It compares you constantly. And most of the time, you believe it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Your estimate of it. Your estimate. Your interpretation. Your narration. You walk into a room. No one greets you immediately. Event, silence. Narration, you don't belong here. You make a small mistake. Event, error. Narration, this is why you're not good enough. Someone else succeeds publicly. Event, their success. Narration, you're behind. The event is neutral. The suffering is internal commentary. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent. You are not required to agree with every thought that appears, but most people do. The thought arises, you're not capable, and without questioning it, they accept it. Here is the daily practice. 3 times a day, pause for 30 seconds. Observe your internal dialogue, not what you wish it was, what it actually is. Is it constructive or corrosive? When a negative thought appears, ask, is this a fact or a reflex? Where is the evidence? Would I speak to someone I respect this way? Replace distortion with precision, not false positivity. Precision. Instead of, I always fail. Say, I failed at this attempt. What can I adjust? Instead of, they think I'm incompetent. Say, I don't know what they think. I control my preparation. The tone you use internally shapes your nervous system. Harsh internal language triggers threat. Measured language builds regulation. The insecure person is bullied by their own mind. The disciplined person becomes their own commander. And once your inner voice becomes aligned instead of adversarial, something changes. You stop shrinking. You stop hesitating. You stop apologizing for existing. Because the war inside quiets. And when the internal war quiets, external presence strengthens. You've now reclaimed your energy. You've begun mastering your narration. But confidence is not only mental, it must also be physical. Because if your body collapses under discomfort, your mind will follow. You've controlled your mornings. You've faced your fears. You've reclaimed your jurisdiction. You've begun mastering your inner voice. But confidence still collapses for one simple reason. You are physically and psychologically fragile under pressure. You can think clearly in calm moments, but when tension rises, your body tightens, your breathing shortens, your mind accelerates, and philosophy disappears. So now we go deeper. Now we build durability. Discipline 5. Voluntary discomfort. Condition your nervous system. Insecurity is not only cognitive, it is physiological. Your nervous system decides whether something feels threatening long before your logic does. A difficult conversation, an uncomfortable silence, a visible risk. If your system is untrained, it reacts as if survival is at stake. That reaction becomes hesitation. Hesitation becomes avoidance. Avoidance becomes identity. I'm just not confident. No, you are unconditioned. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world, yet he deliberately exposed himself to hardship. Seneca practiced living with minimal resources despite immense wealth. Why? Because comfort creates dependency. Dependency creates fear, and fear breeds insecurity. If you need comfort to function, you will fear discomfort. If you fear discomfort, you will avoid growth. Voluntary discomfort breaks that cycle. Cold water on your skin before sunrise, a workout when your body resists, speaking when your voice wants silence, saying no when approval tempts you to say yes, taking a visible risk before you feel ready. Each time you choose difficulty deliberately, you collect evidence, evidence that you endure, and the brain learns from evidence, not from affirmations. Every time you step into discomfort and survive, your threshold increases. The next uncomfortable moment feels smaller. The next tense exchange feels manageable. The next risk feels possible. Most insecurity is simply low discomfort tolerance. You mistake unfamiliarity for danger. You mistake tension for incapability, but tension is not weakness. It is expansion. Here is the rule: 1 deliberate discomfort per day. Not dramatic, not reckless, deliberate, consistent. You will notice something subtle after a few weeks. You stop flinching, you stop overreacting, you stop bracing, because your nervous system no longer panics at pressure. And when your body remains steady, your mind remains clear. This is where real confidence begins, not in self-talk, in resilience. Discipline 6, internal scorekeeping. Redefine success. Now we address something even more destructive: the scoreboard. Most people live inside an invisible ranking system. Who is ahead? Who is behind? Who is behind? Who is recognized? Who is validated? You scroll, you compare, you measure, and every measurement either inflates or deflates you. This is a fragile way to live, because external metrics fluctuate. Followers increase and decrease. Recognition comes and disappears. Opportunities open and close. If your confidence depends on these variables, it will swing violently. Epictetus taught that peace comes from focusing only on what is yours. Outcomes are not yours. Character is. Marcus Aurelius did not measure himself by applause. He measured himself by virtue. Did I act with courage? Did I remain disciplined? Did I choose justice over comfort? Did I uphold my standards? These are internal metrics, and internal metrics cannot be taken from you. When you redefine winning, everything changes. Winning is not being chosen. Winning is showing up prepared. Winning is showing up prepared. Winning is not being praised. Winning is maintaining integrity when unobserved. Winning is not outperforming others. Winning is outperforming yesterday's self. The insecure person competes horizontally. The disciplined person competes vertically. Horizontal competition creates comparison. Vertical competition creates growth. Here is your daily audit. Before sleep, ask, did I act according to my values? Did I give full effort where it mattered? Did I avoid self-betrayal? Did I improve in at least one measurable way? Notice what is absent. No mention of applause. No mention of status. No mention of validation. When you live by internal scorekeeping, something powerful happens. Your confidence stabilizes. It becomes procedural, earned daily, quietly. You stop chasing external confirmation because your internal record is intact. And when your internal record is strong, outside noise loses influence. Discipline 7. Service over self. Transcend insecurity. There is one final shift, and it is the most liberating. Insecurity thrives in self-monitoring. How did I sound? Did they approve? Did I look capable? Did I measure up? This constant self-evaluation magnifies doubt. The Stoics offered a radical alternative. Shift your focus outward. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." In other words, stop obsessing over your image. Start contributing. When your attention moves from "how am I perceived" to "how can I be useful," something shifts internally. You stop shrinking, because usefulness builds competence. Competence builds self-respect. Self-respect builds confidence. Epictetus was born a slave. He had no title, no influence, no recognition, yet his teachings outlived emperors. Why? Because he focused on serving truth, not serving his ego. The insecure person asks, "Am I enough?" The disciplined person asks, "How can I contribute?" Contribution dissolves insecurity because it removes self-obsession. When you are focused on solving a problem, you are not obsessing over your image. When you are helping someone improve, you are not analyzing your own worth. When you are creating value, you are not waiting for validation. Here is your final discipline. Every day, create value, without announcing it, without seeking applause. Solve a problem. Offer insight. Help someone quietly. Take responsibility when others hesitate. When your life becomes contribution-focused, insecurity starves because your worth is no longer based on perception. It is based on impact, and impact is within your control. You now have the full structure. Control your mornings, rehearse adversity, operate within your jurisdiction. Master your internal voice, condition your nervous system, redefine success, shift toward service. These are not motivational ideas, they are daily disciplines, and disciplines compound. Insecurity is not a fixed identity, it is a pattern, and patterns break under repetition. You will not wake up tomorrow transformed, but if you practice one discipline daily, consistently, your identity will shift. Quietly, gradually, structurally. Confidence is not a feeling you chase. It is evidence you accumulate. Evidence of self-command. Evidence of endurance. Evidence of integrity. Evidence of usefulness. Stack enough evidence, and insecurity has no foundation left to stand on. This is not about becoming louder. It is about becoming steadier, not more arrogant, more grounded, not performative. Sovereign, choose one discipline today. Commit to it for 7 days, then layer the next. Build it brick by brick, because no one is coming to hand you confidence. You construct it, deliberately, daily. Become the master of your mind. Rebuild, refocus, rise.